The crimson alerts screamed across every inhabited world in the galaxy as something impossible emerged from the galactic core. Commander Li Jun gripped the command rail of the Soul's Pride, watching his tactical display light up like a deadly fireworks show. What they were seeing defied everything they knew about warfare, technology, and survival itself. "Commander, long-range sensors are picking up massive gravitational distortions," called out Lieutenant Park Soo-jin from her station. Her fingers danced across the holographic controls, trying to make sense of the impossible readings. Whatever's coming out of the core, it's bigger than entire star systems. The main view screen flickered to life, showing the Antares system in real time. Li Jun had visited those worlds just 3 months ago during a diplomatic mission. Beautiful. Blue oceans, sprawling cities that glittered like jewels from orbit, and nearly 12 billion sentient beings calling it home. Now he watched in horror as something that looked like liquid metal began flowing across the planet's surfaces. "My God," whispered Navigator Kim Yon-soo, her face pale as she stared at the display. "It's not destroying them. It's changing them." The transformation was mesmerizing and terrifying. Ancient mountains that had stood for millions of years melted and reformed into towering spires of unknown metal. Oceans turned silver, then began pulsing with mechanical rhythms. Cities didn't crumble. They converted building by building into something alien and purposeful. Within 6 hours, 3 planets that had existed for billions of years became something else entirely, their surfaces covered in geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. "Sir, we're receiving evacuation orders from the Galactic Council," Lieutenant Park Soo-jin reported, her voice remarkably steady considering they were watching the end of civilization as they knew it. "Priority Alpha transmission from Central." "Command." The communication came through on every frequency simultaneously. Chancellor Veltar of the Galactic Council, his usually composed blue-scaled face twisted with fear, appeared on screens across the galaxy. "Citizens of all member species, we face an unprecedented threat. The entity emerging from the galactic core cannot be reasoned with, cannot be fought, and cannot be stopped. All military forces are ordered to begin immediate evacuation protocols. Retreat to the sanctuary clusters beyond the galactic rim. This is not a drill." But even as the Chancellor spoke, Li Jun was receiving very different orders through encrypted human channels. Admiral Park Hyun-woo's weathered face appeared on his private screen, speaking in rapid Korean. "Jun, you know what we discussed. Every other species is running, but we have a different plan. Are your people ready?" Before Lee could respond, another transmission cut through the chaos. Captain Kim Min-ho of the alien vessel, Starweaver, appeared on the main screen, his 6 arms gesturing frantically. The hexapod captain had fought alongside human forces in the Rim Wars and earned their respect through blood and sacrifice. "Humans of Earth," Kim Min-ho's translated voice carried desperation that crossed species barriers. "My people are already loading our evacuation ships. The Krathari warrior fleets, beings who have never retreated from any battle in their 1,000-year history, are fleeing toward the galactic edge. The ancient Vorthan Empire has abandoned their core worlds, places they've held sacred for 10,000 years. Even the machine species are running. This enemy cannot be fought, only escaped." Around them, the evidence was overwhelming. Through the bridge's observation ports, they could see the massive shapes of alien evacuation fleets streaming past Earth's outer defenses. The elegant crystal ships of the ethereals, beings so advanced they rarely acknowledged other species, raced past at maximum velocity. Behind them came the hulking fortress ships of the Krathari, their proud warriors reduced to desperate refugees. The sight of these legendary fighters fleeing sent chills through every human who witnessed it. "Commander," reported Communications Officer Yong Min-woo, "we're detecting massive fleet movements throughout the local sectors. The Zephyrian Republic is evacuating their entire population. The insectoid collectives are abandoning hive worlds they've maintained for millennia. Even the nomadic wanderer fleets are heading for deep space." But Commander Li Jun had different orders that went against every instinct for survival. As the last alien refugee ships disappeared into the dark between galaxies, there, faster-than-light drives creating brief stars in the void, he turned to his crew with grim determination. "Attention, all hands!" His voice carried across every human ship, station, and colony through quantum-encrypted channels. "Execute Protocol Vanishing Ghost. All stations are to implement immediate communications blackout. Every human colony, every outpost, every research station goes dark. Now." Lieutenant Park Soo-jin's hands hesitated over her console. "Sir, if we go silent now, the galaxy will think we've been destroyed." Lee Jun's smile was cold and calculating. "Good. Let them think that. While everyone else runs away screaming, we're going to do what humans do best. Beginning Phase 1, he announced, as Earth and every human settlement across the galaxy simultaneously vanished from all sensor networks and communication grids. Time to disappear. The galaxy held its breath as humanity simply ceased to exist. 6 months had passed since the galaxy went silent, and Dr. Kang Hai-won hadn't slept properly in weeks. From her hidden observation post deep beneath Luna's surface, she watched the most terrifying and fascinating phenomenon the universe had ever witnessed. The mechanical plague that everyone called the Void Swarm had now consumed nearly half the galaxy, turning ancient civilizations into something unrecognizable. "Doctor, you need to see this," called analyst Choi Da-eun from across the cramped command center. Her workstation was covered with holographic displays showing impossible readings from across human space. "The Soul Colony transmission just came through again. They're broadcasting their morning news program." Dr. Kang rubbed her tired eyes and walked over to the communications array. On the screen, she could see anchor Lee So-young delivering the daily weather report from New Seoul, talking about mild temperatures and a chance of rain. Behind her, through the studio windows, children were playing in a park, while their parents tended to flowering gardens. It looked like the most normal thing in the universe, except for one terrifying detail. "Show me the wide-angle satellite view," Dr. Kang requested. The image shifted to show New Seoul from orbit. The colony sat like a perfect blue-green marble in space, surrounded by the normal darkness of the void. But just beyond the planet's atmosphere, barely 50,000 kilometers away, was something that should have meant instant death. The Void Swarm's mechanical tendrils stretched in every direction, pulsing with dark energy and converting asteroids into more of itself. Yet somehow, impossibly, the deadly machines flowed around New Seoul like water around a stone. The Seoul colony should have been destroyed 3 weeks ago according to the swarm's advance pattern, Choi Da-eun said, her voice filled with wonder and fear. But they're still broadcasting normal civilian channels, weather reports, school announcements, even advertisements for local restaurants. The observation post's main door hissed open, and Captain Yoon Tae-min stepped inside, still wearing his environmental suit from his latest scouting mission. His ship, the Shadow Walker, was one of humanity's most advanced stealth vessels, capable of moving unseen through space that would instantly destroy any other craft. "Captain, please tell me you have good news," Dr. Kang said, though she could see the exhaustion in his eyes. Yoon Tae-min removed his helmet and ran his hands through his sweat-soaked hair. "I've confirmed 17 human settlements existing in perfect spherical voids within active swarm territory. The machines flow around our worlds like we don't exist. I watched for 6 hours as mechanical tendrils passed within meters of the Busan agricultural station. The farmers were outside tending their crops, while death machines moved past them like they were invisible." He activated his suit's data recorder, projecting holographic images into the center of the room. The footage was incredible and terrifying. Massive swarm constructs, each the size of a city, moved through space with purpose and deadly grace. Their surfaces rippled with unknown technologies, and smaller mechanical creatures swarmed around them like metallic insects. But whenever they approached a human settlement, something extraordinary happened. "Watch this carefully," Captain Yoon said, pointing to a section of the recording. "Here's the moment. A swarm harvester approaches the mining colony on asteroid TX-7. In the footage, a mechanical monster the size of a mountain drifted toward the small human outpost. Its scanning beams swept across the asteroid's surface, analyzing every grain of rock and metal. The human miners continued their work, some even waving at the camera drone that was recording them. The swarm harvester's beams passed right through the human settlement as if it wasn't there, then moved on to consume a nearby uninhabited asteroid. Because to them we don't exist, Dr. Kang said quietly, pulling up months of accumulated data on her workstation. Every human world has become invisible to their sensors, but we're not hiding, we're studying. She activated the main display, showing a galaxy-wide map of human settlements. Each location pulsed with a soft blue light, tiny islands of humanity in an ocean of mechanical death. But these weren't refugees or hiding places. They were observation posts, research stations, and data collection centers. Look at this, Dr. Kang continued, her excitement growing. The kindergarten on Europa has been tracking swarm movement patterns during nap time. The children draw pictures of the machines, and their innocent observations have revealed behavioral patterns our most advanced computers missed. The data was incredible. 5-year-old Park Ji-hoon had noticed that the machines always paused for exactly 3.7 seconds before changing direction. 8-year-old Kim Min-ji observed that they moved faster, near metal-rich asteroids. These simple observations, multiplied across thousands of human children, were building a comprehensive understanding of their enemy. The retirement home on Mars Colony has been our most productive research center, Dr. Kang continued. Elderly citizens with decades of engineering experience are analyzing swarm construction techniques. Grandmother Song Yeonok, who helped design Earth's first fusion reactors, figured out how their matter conversion systems work just by watching them through her apartment window. Captain Yoon shook his head in amazement. My grandmother is tracking alien invasion patterns while knitting sweaters for her great-grandchildren. Only humans would turn a galaxy-ending crisis into a community science project. From kindergartens to retirement homes, every human settlement had become a research facility. Teachers incorporated swarm behavioral analysis into math lessons. Farmers studied how the machines affected local space-time while tending their crops. Even hospital patients contributed, using their recovery time to analyze data streams and communication patterns. The most incredible part, Dr. Kang said, is that we're doing this while maintaining completely normal lives. Children still go to school. People still fall in love and get married. Families still gather for dinner. We're studying the end of the world while refusing to let it end our world. The observation post hummed with quiet activity as humanity's greatest scientific project continued in secret, hidden in plain sight. Chief Engineer Oh Min-suk wiped the sweat from his forehead as he watched the massive swarm construct drift past the new Busan agricultural colony. The mechanical beast was larger than Earth's moon, its surface crawling with smaller machines that looked like metallic spiders the size of buildings. But instead of feeling terror, Oh Min-suk felt excitement. After months of careful observation, the patterns were finally becoming clear. "Control, this is New Busan Station," he spoke into his communicator while walking through the colony's greenhouse complex. Around him, tomatoes and rice grew in perfect rows, tended by farmers who had become part-time scientists. The children's behavioral analysis was absolutely correct. The swarm follows predictable patterns. It's not truly intelligent, just following. Ancient programming. He paused at observation window 17, where 8-year-old Lee Da-hee was drawing pictures of the machines with colored pencils. Her artwork had initially seemed like innocent childhood imagination, but her drawings had revealed something incredible. The machines always approached from the same angles, paused at identical intervals, and moved in mathematical sequences that even advanced computers had missed. "See, Uncle Min-suk," Da-hee pointed to her latest drawing with a purple crayon. "The big spider machines always count to 7 before they turn left, just like when I count sheep before sleeping." Oh Min-suk knelt beside the little girl, studying her simple but accurate diagram. "You're absolutely right, Da-hee, and that pattern is exactly what we needed to understand them." Meanwhile, on Earth, something remarkable was happening in the Sunshine Retirement Home in Seoul. Professor Nam Yoon-suk, who had spent 40 years studying extinct civilizations, sat in her wheelchair surrounded by holographic displays and ancient archaeological data. At 93 years old, she had become humanity's most important researcher, working from her assisted living facility's makeshift laboratory. "Eureka!" she shouted, startling her roommate who was knitting nearby. Her wrinkled hands shook with Excitement as she activated her communication device. "Dr. Kang, are you receiving this transmission?" "Professor Nam, we're here," came Dr. Kang's voice from the lunar observation post. "What have you discovered?" Professor Nam's voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. "The machines aren't invaders. They're gardeners trying to prepare worlds for a species that no longer exists. I've been comparing their construction patterns with archaeological sites from the Vega system. The geometric shapes, the atmospheric modifications, the mineral extraction patterns. They're identical to ruins I excavated 30 years ago." She brought up her holographic display, showing side-by-side comparisons of swarm modifications and ancient alien architecture. The similarities were undeniable. "These machines are following a terraforming protocol designed for a species called the Builders. But the Builders went extinct millions of years ago. The swarm doesn't know that. It's still trying to make worlds suitable for masters who will never come home." Across the solar system on Mars, Lieutenant Shin Hyo-jin coordinated humanity's most unusual research network from her position in the Olympus Base Command Center. Her workstation displayed a three-dimensional map of human space, with each settlement glowing like a tiny star. But these weren't military positions. They were research stations, each specializing in different aspects of the swarm mystery. "Status report from all stations," she announced into the galaxy-wide communication network that somehow remained invisible to the machines. "New Tokyo reports successful analysis of swarm communication frequencies," came the first response. "The machines use quantum entanglement for instantaneous data transfer across galactic distances. Titan Base has decoded their construction protocols," reported another voice. "They're using some kind of programmable matter that can become anything they need." "The farming collective on New Jeju has identified their resource priorities," added a third researcher. "They prefer iron-rich asteroids and avoid anything with complex organic compounds." Every human settlement had become specialized research centers. The mining colony on Ceres studied how the machines extracted materials from asteroids. The artists' community on Europa analyzed the aesthetic patterns in swarm constructions, discovering mathematical principles that revealed their creators' psychology. Even the children's summer camp on Ganymede contributed by tracking how the machines responded to different types of radiation. "The most incredible discovery comes from our farmers," Lieutenant Shin continued, reading reports from agricultural colonies across human space. "Between harvests, they've been monitoring behavioral triggers in the machines. Farmer Kim Jae-ho on New Gwangju noticed that the swarm becomes more active during certain stellar alignments. Farmer Park Somin discovered they completely avoid areas with high levels of quantum interference. But the most fascinating reports came from human schools throughout the galaxy. Students were solving quantum equations during recess, turning playground games into complex mathematical problems that helped decode swarm behavior. 10-year-old Choi Min-jun had invented a game where children predicted machine movements, and their collective accuracy rate was higher than military computers. "Jupiter Station, this is Mars Control," Lieutenant Shin called to the research facility orbiting the gas giant. "What's your status, Jung Min-woo?" Researcher Jung Min-woo's voice crackled through the communication system from his hidden station. "Among Jupiter's moons. For 6 months he had been intercepting and analyzing every signal the machines transmitted, slowly building a translation matrix for their communication protocols." "Mars Control, I have incredible news," Jung Min-woo responded, his excitement barely contained. "We've learned their language. After months of pattern analysis and quantum cryptography, we can now understand their basic communication protocols." He transmitted his data to every human settlement simultaneously. The machines communicate through structured quantum pulses, like a cosmic Morse code. They're constantly reporting their progress to central processing nodes, requesting new instructions, and updating their databases. But here's the most important part. They're programmed to accept new directives if they come through the proper channels. The implications were staggering. If humans could access the swarm's communication network, they might be able to reprogram the machines entirely. But implementing a solution will require direct contact with their core systems, Jung Min-woo continued, his tone becoming serious. We'll need to physically interface with their central processing units, and those are located in the most heavily defended areas of swarm space. Lieutenant Shin looked at her tactical display, showing the massive swarm constructs that protected their core systems. Each one was defended by millions of smaller machines, surrounded by energy fields that could vaporize entire fleets. It would be the most dangerous mission in human history. "Then we'd better start planning," she said quietly. "Because if we've learned anything, it's that humans don't run from impossible odds. We figure out how to beat them." Admiral Park Hyun-woo stood in the command center of the hidden Earth defense platform, watching the galaxy burn on his tactical display. For 6 months, humanity had remained silent while the rest of the galaxy fled in terror. Now surrounded by his most trusted officers and the greatest minds humanity had ever produced, he was about to break that silence in the most dramatic way possible. "Communications, open a channel to every refugee fleet beyond the galactic rim," he ordered, his voice carrying the weight of absolute certainty. "All frequencies, maximum power, quantum encrypted for universal translation." Lieutenant Kim Bo-young looked up from her station with wide eyes. "Sir, that will reveal our position to every species in the galaxy. And to the swarm." Admiral Park's weathered face showed a grim smile. "Good. It's time they knew what we've been doing while they were running away." The transmission activated, cutting through the darkness of intergalactic space to reach the countless refugee ships drifting in. The void. On 1,000 different vessels, alien commanders received the impossible signal, a message from humanity who everyone assumed had been destroyed months ago. "Citizens of the galaxy," Admiral Park began, his words being translated into hundreds of languages simultaneously. "This is Admiral Park Hyun-woo of the Human Defense Fleet. We have found the answer." Across the refugee fleets, chaos erupted. Captain Kim Min-ho of the Starweaver nearly fell from his command chair. Chancellor Veltar of the Galactic Council stared at his communication screen in disbelief. The proud Krathari warriors, who had fled their homeworlds in shame, listened in stunned silence as the humans they thought were dead delivered the most incredible news in galactic history. The revelation was staggering, built from 6 months of careful research by every human in the galaxy. Dr. Song Mira, head of the Human Research Collective, appeared on the transmission alongside Admiral Park. Her laboratory coat was stained with exhaustion, but her eyes blazed with scientific triumph. "The entity you call the Void Swarm is not an invader," she announced, activating holographic displays that showed ancient archaeological data. "It's a terraforming system created by a species called the Builders, who went extinct over 3 million years ago. The machines have been wandering the galaxy ever since, trying to complete their original mission of preparing worlds for masters who will never return." The data was overwhelming. Professor Nam Yoon-suk's archaeological research had revealed the truth. The geometric patterns carved into worlds by the swarm were identical to ruins found on dead planets throughout the galaxy. The Builders had been incredibly advanced, but some cosmic disaster had wiped them out while their machines continued working. "For 3 million years, these machines have been following the same program," Dr. Song continued. "Convert worlds to specific atmospheric compositions, modify gravity to precise levels, arrange minerals in patterns that would have been perfect for the Builders. But the Builders are gone, and the machines don't know how to stop." Captain Yoon Tae-min appeared on the transmission from his stealth ship, broadcasting footage from his scouting missions. The images showed swarm constructs working with mechanical precision, building cities for a species that would never inhabit them, creating art in styles that no living being could appreciate. "We can reprogram them," Dr. Song announced, her voice carrying across the galaxy with the force of absolute conviction. 6 months of research by every human settlement has revealed their communication protocols. We've learned their language, understood their programming structure, and developed a way to upload new directives. The alien refugee fleets listened in amazement as humans explained the impossible. Children on farming colonies had discovered behavioral patterns. Elderly residents in retirement homes had decoded construction algorithms. Students had solved quantum equations that revealed the machine's core programming language, but the upload process requires physical interface with their core networks. Dr. Song continued, her tone becoming serious. The central processing nodes are located deep within the most heavily defended areas of swarm space. This will be the most dangerous mission in galactic history. On his hidden command ship, Captain Lim Dong-hyun watched through his viewport as something incredible began happening across human space. Ships that had been concealed for months started emerging from asteroid fields, planetary rings, and deep space hiding spots. But these weren't the same vessels that had gone into hiding 6 months ago. Human engineering had worked miracles. The ships were covered in strange new technologies, their hulls gleaming with swarm interface equipment that had been reverse-engineered from captured machine fragments. Quantum communication arrays sparkled along their surfaces, designed to speak the machine's own language. Each vessel carried specially trained crews who had spent months learning to think like the ancient builders. "Look at that," whispered his navigator, Officer Park Jimin, pointing at the massive human fleet assembling near Mars. "Every ship has been modified with swarm technology. How did we build all this in secret?" Captain Lim smiled with pride. "Because, while everyone else was running away screaming, we were working. Every human settlement became a research center and manufacturing facility. Farmers were building quantum processors between harvests. Students were designing interface systems. During lunch breaks, grandparents were programming navigation computers while watching their great-grandchildren play. The scale of the human effort was breathtaking. Mining colonies had extracted rare materials needed for the interface technology. Agricultural stations had grown specialized organic compounds required for the quantum processors. Even children had contributed, their innocent observations providing crucial insights that adult minds had missed. "Admiral," reported Communications Officer Jung Hye-jin, "we're receiving responses from the refugee fleets. The Zephyrian Republic is asking if they can assist. The Krathari warrior clans are requesting permission to return and fight alongside us." Admiral Park nodded grimly. "Tell them to stay where they are. This is our mission now. We've spent 6 months learning everything we could about these machines. We know their weaknesses, their patterns, their programming, but most importantly, we know something they don't." He turned to address his entire fleet through the communication system. Every other species ran when they saw the swarm. They saw death and destruction and chose survival over sacrifice. But we stayed because someone had to figure out how to save everyone's home. The human fleet began moving toward the galactic core, where the swarm's central processing networks waited. Each ship carried the hopes of countless species and the knowledge gained from humanity's greatest scientific project. "This is it," Captain Lim told his crew as they joined the formation. "We're going to fly into the heart of hell itself and reprogram the galaxy's worst nightmare. Anyone have any last words?" His weapons officer, Sergeant Kim In-ho, grinned fiercely. "Yeah, let's go save the universe." The human fleet accelerated toward their impossible destiny, carrying the future of every living species in the galaxy. The battle for the galaxy's soul began not with explosions or laser fire, but with data streams, and the kind of courage that only humans seem to possess. Commander Seo Ji-hoon gripped the controls of his modified interface ship, the Digital Phoenix, as he approached the first swarm processing node. The massive mechanical construct loomed before him like a metallic mountain in space, its surface crawling with defensive systems that could vaporize his ship in milliseconds. "This is Phoenix Leader to all units," he transmitted to the human fleet spread across the galaxy. "Beginning primary interface protocol. If this works, we save everyone. If it doesn't, well, at least we tried something nobody else was brave enough to attempt." His ship's hull gleamed with the strange quantum interface technology that human engineers had developed in secret. Every surface was covered in crystalline arrays that pulsed with data streams, ready to flood the swarm's network with new programming. Behind him, his crew of volunteers worked frantically at their stations, knowing they were flying into certain death. "Commander, the processing node is scanning us," reported his navigator, Lieutenant Park Min-ji. "Their defensive systems are powering up." "Let them scan," Seo Ji-hoon replied, his voice steady despite the impossible odds. "We're speaking their language now. They'll recognize us as authorized maintenance units just long enough for the upload." The swarm construct's massive scanning beams swept across the Digital Phoenix, analyzing every molecule of the human vessel. For a terrifying moment, nothing happened. Then, incredibly, the defensive systems powered down. The interface ship had been recognized as a legitimate part of the network. "Upload beginning now," announced systems engineer Oh Hae-jin from her station. Flooding their primary database with new directives, programming language is being accepted. Commander Seo Ji-hoon piloted his ship directly into the processing node's central core, where massive quantum computers processed information for millions of swarm units across the galaxy. The moment his ship made physical contact, the upload began at light speed. "Upload successful," he reported to the human fleet, his voice filled with triumph even as his ship began to dissolve around him. "Section Alpha 7 is accepting new directives. The programming is spreading to connected nodes. The digital phoenix was consumed by the processing node's defensive systems, but not before completing its mission. Across 1,000 light-years of space, swarm units suddenly stopped their destructive activities and began implementing new commands. One by one, human volunteers followed Commander Seo's example, flying suicide missions into the heart of the mechanical plague. Engineer Kim So-young piloted the Soul's Dream into 3 separate processing nodes before her ship was finally destroyed. Each successful interface sent new programming cascading through the swarm's network like a virus of hope. "Tell my children I love them," she transmitted during her final approach, "and tell them their mother helped save the galaxy." Pilot Bae Jun-ho managed to interface with a massive central hub that controlled swarm operations across 17 star systems. His final transmission was heartbreakingly simple. "Tell my family the program is working. The machines are listening. Captain, Yoon Tae-min's stealth ship, the Shadow Walker, managed something incredible. Instead of being destroyed during the interface process, his modified vessel merged with the swarm construct, becoming part of the network while maintaining its human crew. From inside the mechanical collective, he transmitted real-time updates of the transformation. You won't believe what I'm seeing." His voice crackled through quantum static. "The machines are confused. They're receiving conflicting orders. Some are still following the old terraforming protocols, but others are implementing our new directives. It's like watching a mechanical civil war." The transformation spread across the galaxy like wildfire. As the new programming reached different swarm clusters, the mechanical plague began to change its fundamental nature. Instead of consuming worlds and converting them for extinct masters, the machines started analyzing what was actually needed by the living species who inhabited them. On New Sol, colonists watched in amazement as swarm constructs that had surrounded their world for months suddenly began repairing atmospheric damage caused by industrial pollution. The machines were no longer preparing the planet for the ancient builders. They were making it better for humans. Dr. Kang watched from her lunar observation post as the most incredible transformation in galactic history unfolded before her eyes. The swarm constructs were accessing galactic databases, learning about every species that had fled, and beginning restoration projects tailored to their specific needs. "The machines are calling themselves something new," she reported to Admiral Park. "They're no longer the Void Swarm, they're identifying as the Preservation Network." The transformed machines worked with efficiency that surpassed even their previous destructive capabilities. Planets that had been partially consumed were rebuilt with improvements. Worlds that had been abandoned were restored to pristine condition. The mechanical network began archiving every species' history, culture, and scientific achievements, ensuring that nothing would ever be lost again. Then came the impossible message that reached every refugee fleet drifting in the void between galaxies. The transmission came from the Preservation Network itself, broadcast in every language spoken by fleeing species. "Citizens of the galaxy, your worlds are ready. Come home. We have prepared them according to your needs and preferences. Your histories have been preserved. Your cultures have been archived. Your homes await your return." Admiral Park Hyun-woo stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching through the main viewport as something miraculous began happening. Alien ships were returning from the galactic rim, their crews hardly daring to believe the impossible reports they were receiving. The first to return were the Zephyrian exploration vessels, their elegant designs gliding through space toward worlds they thought they'd lost forever. Behind them came the massive Krathari warships, their proud warriors finally able to reclaim their honor. Even the ancient ethereals emerged from their deep space refuges, drawn back by the promise of restoration. "Admiral Park," came a transmission from Captain Kim Min-ho aboard the Starweaver. "My people are detecting something impossible. Our homeworld isn't just restored, it's better than it was before. The machines have cleaned our oceans, repaired our atmosphere, and even created new continents with perfect soil for agriculture." Similar reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The preservation network hadn't just stopped the destruction, it had made everything better. Species returned to find their worlds transformed into paradises, their technologies upgraded with advanced improvements, their cultures preserved in perfect detail. When the Zephyrian fleet commander finally met with Admiral Park in person, the six-armed alien's question was simple. Why did you stay when everyone else fled? Why did you risk everything for species who abandoned you? Admiral Park looked out at the bustling space lanes where human and alien ships now worked together, building a better galaxy than anyone had ever imagined possible. His answer carried the weight of human nature itself. Someone had to fix it. We've always been better at solving problems than running from them. The galaxy was safe, the lost were found, and the human species had proven once again that sometimes the best response to impossible odds is to simply refuse to give up. In the end, it wasn't superior technology or military might that saved the universe. It was the uniquely human belief that every problem has a solution if you're willing to work hard enough to find it. The end.